I have alluded to a couple times this morning already, the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. Armistice Day. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of the 18th year, 1918. 100 years ago today. And I would like for you to listen for a moment, just a couple of minutes, to this clip that I came across this week. It is the final minute of the First World War and the minute after. Oh, we're almost ready. Okay, I have a plan C. Because that's the kind of day today has been. So there's nothing to see anyways, but I think if I do this, you will be able to hear it. Is that picking up? Is my mic on?
Yep.
No? Okay. Technology. No sound back there? I will do the best I can to share with you what that sounded like. It's a pretty amazing clip, and if you can find it online, it's worth listening to, because here's what happened. It was a different era, and communication was not instantaneous like it can be today. They had to get the word out, so they had to select a time when the war would end. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And they got the word out. And in that clip, you can hear the artillery, not that, the artillery and the guns firing up to the very last second. And then silence. And a few seconds later, the glorious grace of birdsong enters in. And so today feels a little bit like a continuation of our Remembrance Sunday from last week, doesn't it? We are remembering today. We are remembering those who volunteer in military service, and we are remembering the 100th anniversary of a war that devastated Europe and the world. Today is Remembrance Sunday, Veterans Day, and Armistice Day. Today we remember the sacrifice and the service offered and embodied by all those brothers and sisters who have embodied it for us. And there is a reality of grief in our lives. We continue on this remembrance from last week. We have to acknowledge that there is a reality of grief in our lives, that wars and conflict still make geographical separation a reality in our families. I spoke earlier of the sacrifices that our families make, and we have friends and families. We have even at least one member of this congregation who will be separated from their family for a time as a result of wars and conflict that continue. Death still makes final separation a reality in our broken and grieving hearts. We remembered that last week. We remember that this week, and those who are living through it right now don't won't have the privilege of shutting it off when Sunday is done. Hatred and violence still make separation from peace a reality in our lives. I don't know about you, but having to see the news of another shooting, mass shooting, multiple murders, weighs heavy on my heart, as I know it does on the heart of God. And so I sense there is a challenge in this, that there is a hard word for us in this. If you had heard the guns of World War I firing up until the last second, I wonder if it is an allegory and an illustration for us who embrace violence and hatred and division up until the very last moment in our lives. Humanity, with such potential for love and creation and beauty in the world, continues to fire their guns up until the last moment. I think that we need to hear that hard word. And we have to think about what it is that we are practicing for. Are we practicing for an eternity of violence? Or are we practicing for an eternity of peace? And are we participating in violence and division and hatred? Or are we participating in kingdom peace and love and unity? The good news is that service and sacrifice can heal a broken world. That is the good news to us in this heaviness that we may be experiencing now. Jesus speaks to us, and Jesus embodies a true example of sacrificial service to us. Jesus calls his followers to lives of sacrificial service to others, to our neighbors, to our enemies. Jesus is embodied today through our servant hearts for one another. That is the very embodiment of Jesus himself. Jesus declares that we are and that we are known as his by our love and our service. Sacrificial service is a declaration of hope and love. For all of you who have in the last year participated by sacrificing in some way, you have made a declaration that there is hope, because otherwise why serve? Why give? But we know that the kingdom is true, and we know that love is true, and we know that we have hope, and we declare it in our service. When a soldier takes up arms, it is in hope of peace, not continued war. When a Christian kneels to serve, it is in hope of an eternal kingdom. When you serve and give sacrificially, it is a declaration of hope and love in this congregation and in this community. And when others see that service, when they see your service, they know that love is greater than hate, that giving is greater than taking, that hope is greater than fear. And so I call us on this 100th anniversary of Armistice Day to take up an armistice of our own. Let us silence the guns of hatred, division, and prejudice in exchange for hope and peace. We shift in this, as I described to the kids earlier, we shift in this to others, from ourselves to others, and embody Christ and an eternal kingdom that is here and now. We silence the guns of scarcity and fear in the face of abundant love and service. And as Jesus said in our gospel reading, we can show no greater love in life than to give ourselves for the good of another. It's that simple. So let us not war to the last moment. Let us not fight with one another until we have victory. Let us not divide the body of Christ over petty and temporary things. But let us unite together now to heal a wounded world, to heal a wounded Greenville, to heal wounded families, friends, neighbors, and yes, enemies. Let us be a healing force in the world today and silence those evil guns once and for all. Amen.